Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I just want to say at the outset of this track for the next couple of hours, if, ladies and gentlemen, anyone who came to this conference because they heard that crypto was a way to get rich quick, make a fast buck, I'm afraid you are in the wrong room. This afternoon, we are going to be talking about the real reason we're all here, or the real reason we should all be here, is privacy. And the challenge of privacy, the challenge of fulfilling the promise of private, cash-like digital money on the internet. And I can think of no better way to kick off this afternoon than the following presentation from a legend in the space, a pioneer, the founder back in the day of DigiCash, more recently with the XX network. Please welcome David Chaum.
It's so great to be here at Consensus. You know, 40 years ago, I saw that democracy would hinge on people being able to control access to their own information. And I think now we're at a critical juncture. I think there's only one way through for democracy at this point. You know, at the World Economic Forum of Davos, the attendee survey showed 80% of people said that they were worried about social fragmentation as the biggest danger to the world. As the top of the top 10 list, that basically was a new entrant on the list. They never had that category before, and the list had been stable for like a decade. And as another indication of what's going on, 70% of the public said that, and also was the top 3 choices of issues with current internet, or say Web 2, is the lack of privacy and control over their own data. So, you know, it's a convergence of the wisdom of the crowd and the powers that be. Everyone's recognizing that we are at a critical juncture. Democracy is in danger. And, you know, in terms of Web 3, it's obvious that consumers and users will move to Web 3, I would say if and only if it offers them real privacy. And I think that's the opportunity. So, you know, privacy needs, you can't just solve it piecemeal. You have to solve all 3 aspects of privacy. So one of them is, you know, messaging, communication privacy, who you talk to and when, the content of messages. The second one is payments, like you have to be able to make and receive payments anonymously, say. And also, you need to be able to interact with organizations and institutions in a way that gives you control over your own information. And the only real way to do that is with what I've called digital pseudonyms and credential mechanisms. So that's necessary. If you leave one or 2 of those types of protection out, then people may feel like they're safe, but the other non-private stuff will be able to link them and all their interactions together. And so it's like painting a big red target on your back. So really, if you want to solve the privacy, you have to give individuals the keys, or let them create the keys to control access to all the information about themselves in communication, not just content, but the traffic data, who they talk to and when, payments in both directions, and for credential mechanisms. So, people need a protected sphere in order to meaningfully participate in democracy. They need to be able to communicate with their friends and family, develop their ideas, and they need to be able to buy information or subscribe, be paid maybe to be a journalist like that. They have to be secure in knowing that what they do online is not going to somehow ultimately be used against them, maybe even in the future. So in order for people to feel and be able to feel safe and be able to participate in democracy, you need all three kinds of privacy. So at Consensus in Singapore, this was some time ago, I stood up in front of the audience there and I announced our project, now called XX Network, and I said we would have a quantum-resistant consensus system that was very performant, and it would not use the kind of cryptography that governments recommend you use, but rather the kind that they use themselves to protect their own information, the strongest type of quantum-resistant cryptography. And I'm very pleased to be able to report here that we've now demonstrated that type of a consensus algorithm. It's quantum-secured consensus running quantum-secured payments at 3,500 TPS on single-core, 100 megabit up and down link limited computers. So, I mean, that's really all you need. You look at Alipay plus Visa and whatever, maybe 35K, but those performance, if you can bump all those use a server class, you'd be at 10x on all the performance metrics. So that's global payments. And I also said that we would have a messenger that shredded metadata, right? That hides who you talk to and when, so that the routing of messages is randomized and the information about it is destroyed along each step. I assume many of you know about this was based on the CMIX protocol that I was inspired to create after the Snowden revelations to allow low latency messaging, like 3 seconds, and which is actually, I think, in Singapore I said 10 seconds now that I'm, actually it's running at 3 seconds now globally, and we have 500 nodes around the world, and we have a great community, so we're in mainnet, and the messenger was released earlier this year, and it is feature complete. It's on all the app platforms. It has now been, just this week, we released the total fine-tuning of the user experience based on 10 video interactions we had with our community. It's looking very, very good. And so, we have tens of thousands of users, but we're kind of not done anything to allow that to grow very much. So I think if you just simply, so what I basically said in Singapore was we would have WeChat with privacy. So in WeChat in China, you have the mini apps that are sandboxed, and so you can do ride hailing and payments and so on within the messenger, and the little icons for those things. So, it really makes the point. If you think about, contrast the WeChat in China with a WeChat with privacy for all those aspects of your interaction, it's obvious that the one is antithetical to democracy or whatever, worse, and the way through, because that's what people want, is messaging integrated with payments and these other mini apps as they need them. That's the way that you could deliver real privacy to, the general public, and that's what's needed to restore democracy, the robustness of democracy and confidence in democracy and so forth. So I'm really thrilled to be able to say here at this consensus in Austin that last night we announced the Elixir platform, which completes our promise. It is WeChat with privacy, with the mini apps and everything. It's an open, decentralized WeChat with privacy. And I have a slide here which shows, sorry, forgot to use this. Did it change? No. Yes. Nice. So those are some of our mini apps, the 20 that we've detailed specs for, and our community foundation is generously giving some grants for people to build these out, and any other ones that people want to propose. But if you take the trouble to go to the website and look at these, you'll see it's a very comprehensive, rich set of mini apps, and it looks extremely promising. So, it's privacy in messaging and all kinds of communication, push to talk, and private radio, et cetera, but also privacy for basically any cryptocurrency using any wallet, if you will. And we've integrated payments in the messaging stream in a really nice way that sort of delivers the promise of these kinds of platforms in a totally easy to use way. And there's also, private social media and private gaming and private search, private help. Well, you see, maybe you can infer, but go to you could read the whole spec on each one of these and think what you might want to make or have some. It's a really exciting opportunity. You also see that there's a voting component, and maybe some of you voted the 7th Estate election here at consensus, but that was completed yesterday, and there were, I think, both prizes were taken, and it was a great success. So that is a example of a grassroots democracy where people can, using our blockchain, but using only paper. So if you have like $1,000 to buy stamps, you can prove that a majority of people in a country or in a region support a particular proposal. And that's an extremely powerful kind of grassroots democracy thing. And that's based on what I've called sample voting. And the VoteXX project, where you see the little hedgehog icon there, that is the fully digital version of that, which we are hoping to be able to use for governance in XX network in the future. And that is fundamentally important. And I'll just drill a little bit deeper here. There's one more thing you need in order to really do democracy with crypto and privacy, and that is, it's not widely understood at this moment, but it's what I call inalienable privacy. It means that, or identity, it means that no one can take your identity away from you. Even if they get you to give it to them, you still have a residue of it that cannot be taken from you, and that absent that, you really cannot do the kind of online voting that you would expect to be able to do, and it is a fundamental new important property, and once integrated with the credential mechanism that I mentioned earlier, so to cover all the sort of non-paper, so you can pseudonymously prove that you're answering queries about your data correctly without revealing anything about your data, and that ability cannot be taken from you. And so it's a really powerful new thing, and we're we've integrated in with the VoteXX, and it's something you'll be hearing a lot more about, I hope. So anyways, it's so great to be here with everyone at Consensus, and thanks so much for everything. Thank you, everyone.